Now, there's a few stands on our property that we like to wait until the rut to hunt. And I talk about this in the early season, or we're shooting this right now, right before the early season, because I really want to stress these 3 stand types that we would avoid till the rut, just because I know you're itching to get to them. A lot of these are your best stand locations, and I know for us, like for me in particular, over the last 35 years, my best buck hunting has come from 15% of my sits, meaning I only hunt about 15% of the time in the morning, and 70% of my mature bucks have come during the morning hours or from the morning hours. And so outstanding time. So I'm talking about these pure rut stands that are usually morning related, or almost always morning related. And there's 3 types. We're sitting at one right here. We're standing at one. And you can see I've actually mowed a trail into here. I want to come in here quietly. I want to come in here at the end of October. And I want to come in on an unsuspecting buck movement. This is a cruising trail. We have giant food sources over that way, about 350 yards, 300 yards. We have a water hole next to a bedding area right over here. We can actually come into that water hole for an afternoon hunt. We can come in there for a morning hunt, but I'd rather come here for a morning rut stand over here. We have really big bedding out this point behind me, down the bottom behind me. So it's kind of like we have bedding on 2 sides, bedding on the bottom, so bedding 3 sides, water hole off to the corner. We have about a ½ acre, 3/4 acre food plot right here that connects to a 2 acre food plot. So really big, and that system starts about 150 yards this way. So we're in between food. We have bedding on 3 sides. We have great access over here. We're on a cruising bench. Big field system all the way back in here. It extends for hundreds of yards out in the neighbor's ag field. What that does is during the early season and summertime, these bucks are staying back on a point somewhere, and they're going right out to ag and right back again. However, when it gets to the pre-rut, rut, sometime during the rut, in through the second rut in early December around here, maybe that's mid-December, maybe you have a broken rut where it's rut off and on in November, December, January, February down in the south, where it's more of a trickle rut. Then you're almost hunting individual does that you know came into heat in a certain area last year. But for the northern 2/3 of the country, you have a pretty predictable rut. And I'm waiting till that time of the year to hunt this, because those bucks, instead of going straight to the field out there, they turn their attention and they run parallel. Instead of perpendicular movements, they run parallel movements. What I mean by that, parallel to the field edge. They're going between bedding areas like barbells that usually parallels the field edge up there. And because the fields around here are based on elevation, as you get down into the woods, they're going lower or higher. And that means you can hunt those benches that parallel the field edge and find great success. So they're running side to side right here. I want to come into here in this location during the pre-rut or rut, and I want to hunt a buck that's turned his attention to running side to side through here, and I can come in here on an unsuspecting buck and have a great hunt in the morning. So I call them 40-50% sets, because you have a mature buck that you know is down here. You're getting a picture of him on the food source over here, getting a picture of him on the water hole over here. You know you can sneak in to this movement in between and experience a great hunt on an unsuspecting buck because you haven't spooked it out. Now, second location, we hunt a lot of bedding area movement over in Wisconsin where I hunt. We start on the bottom, we go all the way up to the top, we go around our food sources in the valley in between, we go on either side of either ridge to get up there. So when we get up the top, it's a 35-minute walk in, sometimes 40. We get to a stand location and we're between bedding or on the back side of bedding. And what that does is allows us to control our wind, because we're hunting up high and the deer never smell us. It's either going over them or going away from them, but we get predictable winds because it's not hitting the soil, and we're getting that updraft in the morning with the morning thermals, and you're getting that till the temperature changes in the afternoon. The bottom line is outstanding pre-rut, rut, post-rut, second rut stand opportunities in the morning, and that's when we're hunting those locations. One of my favorite spots to hunt, but we're definitely waiting until it gets later towards the rut instead of the early season. Some of those are my favorite stands, and I've learned the hard way throughout the years that you go in there, you leave your scent around. You might even have had a buck in the middle of the night coming through, but you leave your scent around, and now he's gone for a few weeks. Sometimes you have time before the rut begins to go back in there and have a great hunt, and maybe he's back, but a lot of times he's gone for the rut, he's relocated, especially the older the buck he is, And so you could waste a 40-50% sit 5 weeks before you ever have the potential and opportunity for that to happen because you went in too early. Definitely not an early season sit up by some buck's lair, hidden, remote. But you can sneak into those areas just like this area right here under the pre-dawn hours because he's just not there. He's over somewhere in a staging area, he's on a food source, he's out in big fields, he's on your neighbor's food plots that are more nocturnal. And he's spending a lot of time there, and then he's coming back to his bedding area. And that's when you catch him on this cruising area or that bedding area stand up high, down low, wherever it might be, in the back side of cover, the back side of the clear cut where no one goes to. You have those remote locations we all know about that are next to bedding areas. And then finally, the number 3 stand I really like saving for the rut are those hard to get to all day stand locations. So we have some stands that are far down in the valley. If we go down there in the open, we have the risk of spooking something. And a lot of times I'd rather go in there, maybe it's next to bedding, water hole, like we have one we call the Karen stand. We like that stand location. It's next to a neighboring food source. That's a typical all day sit. We might try an offshoot chance in the early season to go down there in the afternoon, evening, but we know if we go in there, it's open getting in, we have the chance of spooking a deer. I'd rather go in there pre-dawn hours. That's when I shot my buck last year out of that stand, and then wait and potentially wait all day. And the good thing about that is if it is a 40-50% sit, it's a long ways back out, so we have time to get out of there. And we have some other stands. We have one's a bottom plot, we have a bottom redneck we use for gun season. A lot of those stands are waiting till that perfect time during the rut or maybe opening day of gun, and we're waiting till that time, even though they're outstanding stand locations, because they're difficult getting in. We have a high risk of spooking deer in or out. But while we're sitting there, we can get in there safely in the morning. We can sit all day and then get out. They're great for getting in the dark, but really difficult for getting in or out during the daylight because bucks are bedding nearby, or deer in general. And those are my 3 stands that I really wait for, those cruising stands, those bedding area stands, and those hard to get to stands, because the risk is too high that I spooked them out earlier, and the potential is too great for a 40-50% success rate if I do wait for those stands to heat up and go at the right time, with the right weather, of course, too. We're always looking at HuntWise and HuntCast that I help develop. We're making sure all those conditions match. It's the pre-rut or rut in your area, and then we go in with high hopes, and about half the time we're rewarded. That's why we save these stands for the rut during the season and don't burn them out during the early season. I appreciate you guys watching the YouTube channel, but I don't know if everyone knows everything that we have to offer, whether it's on whitetailhabitatsolutions.com, our website, or WHS Wildlife Blends, our seed company. Also Instagram you can check out. I'm very active on Instagram, putting strategies on there, photos of what we do every day. Much more active there than Facebook. But our seed, web classes, books, clients, articles. I have over 600 articles on whitetailhabitatsolutions.com, everything whitetail strategy. Of course, we have hats on there, and then make sure to check us out on Instagram again. But lots of stuff to offer. We're always coming out with new things, and this isn't the end of it. We have more things coming soon. Make sure to check us out.